Carolyn, Carrie, how ready down there? Commissioners?
Yes, sir.
Ready? All right, special meeting of the City Commission for Tuesday, April 2nd, 2019 will come to order. Please silence your cell phones. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Mayor Owen,
Here.
Vice Mayor Hartman,
Here.
Commissioner Colodi,
Here.
Commissioner Sachs,
Here.
Commissioner McGurk.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. First item up is, actually the only item, really, is the discussion on the strategic action plan. I was going to just point out, though, in the agenda, in our normal meeting, we have moved public participation to right up front. I've noticed in the workshops, it's kind of after, just to point that out. I don't know if we want to be consistent between the workshops and the regular commission meetings in that order of having the public participation more towards the front or towards the back, so. Front.
Motion to
Does
adjourn.
anyone have an objection just moving public participation up front? No objections? All right. So we'll now open for public participation. 3-minute time limit. It's opportunity to address the commission on any topic you desire. This will be the only chance in this meeting.
Jeffrey Dove, 332 Tupintello, New Smyrna Beach. Couple things. I'm not reading the letter today. I'm very concerned. A couple things with the infrastructure on the west side. I'm very concerned. I think it's almost immoral. Especially when you start talking about a half-cent sales tax. And when I would look at the projects that are done, not many or any are done on the west side. To me, that's problematic. And so I'm asking nicely, and as a community partner, please, y'all, it's almost scandalous what's going on over there. And so we need people to stand up for us. If we're going to have that meeting, that pickleball competition between me and you, on my way there, I want a good road to ride on. And so I'm begging. I looked at the proposed projects for the half-penny sales tax. It's unbelievable. And so we have to do a better job with infrastructure. We have to do a better job with sidewalks and roads. We have to do a better job with our children in making sure that they're safe. I believe that I'm a partner. I do. I'm not going to skin and grin in your face when you're wrong, though. And the majority of our problem for the west side is your city manager. It is what it is. I have no bones with her, but she has no interest no more to do what she want to do, and that's not fair. And so we came with when Tony first came out with the new CRA, we had 3 priorities. We did a survey of 150 residents over there. I'm sure Tony probably got in the file 13 now, but it was 3 main priorities they wanted to see the residents. One was senior housing, affordable housing, and paved roads. So y'all do me a favor, y'all help me. I'm willing to work with you. If y'all work with me, I don't have a problem with it. Again, I want to thank Chief Coffin for his donation to Save Our Daughters and Sons. I want to thank the mayor for your personal contribution to that. We're looking for a good year this year. We have 30 kids signed up already, and the summer's not even here, so thank you.
Awesome. It's good to hear that. Thank you. Any others wish to address the commission? Ms. March.
Christina March, 1324 Buck Lane. I would like to just request an evaluation of the city manager's position. I see a problem with diversity. I don't see that being addressed. I see a problem with technology. I don't see that being addressed, and I hear a lot of excuses, and the general feeling is the public doesn't feel empowered to say anything or get any responses, and at least a review of her position and her appointment. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wish to speak? All right. Seeing none, we'll close public participation. All right. Main topic today, strategic action plan, review of our 2019 priority goals and draft action plan and implementation. Start off with City
Mayor
Manager
told me I
report.
had less than 3 minutes. So, starting real quick, just to bring everybody up to speed on it, and we do have it up on the PowerPoint. We're gonna go page by page. We're not gonna present each item. We're just gonna bring it up on the screen, and then the mayor will ask the commission basically to comment on the items. When staff did, when you did your planning sessions back in December 13th, the 14th, and January 15th, we took what was 20 items, didn't lose any of them, just consolidated them to the 10, and then the other direction from the commission was to specifically include, and those are the blue items, those are not from staff, those are from the blue items are directly from all of the CCR sessions. And the neighborhood council reviewed the draft, and then again, the action plan at their meetings in January and February, and they specifically asked that we not lose in translation, and we've tried not to do that, any of the recommendations that came out of the CCR. There are a couple, and we have been working this action plan since January. Obviously, with scheduling and workshops and draft ordinances, you have to keep it all moving. So you'll see as we go through, we did a couple updates this morning. There's nothing wedded in stone here. If you want to move things back, we never, Commissioner Coloni wanted to make the point, these were never prioritized. So just because we see transportation plan, for example, on the first page, the commission never actually said, of the 10, these are the top 3 or 4 or 5. So that's our plan. We promise to, that's it, less than 3 minutes, I think. And just to let the commission talk, we have our public hearing at 6:30. So we've got time. Hopefully you take a little bit of break there in between. That's it, Mayor.
Okay. To reiterate one thing that City Manager said, so there are items on here, and we'll get to it, but one of the very last ones, the AOB site, is a great example. There are 2 things basically proposed. One is keep and one is private utilization. Obviously, we can't do both. Those are in conflict. So just because an item is on here, I just want to make sure it's clear for the public, and I hope we all understand, just because something is on here doesn't mean that this was something that the commission brought up or that staff is even recommending. It may be one of those CCR items or a public comment that's been brought forward really for discussion. So I think one of our goals today would be provide some direction where we see lack of clarity around that. So I'd also ask the commission, we've got roughly 2 hours. If we leave ourselves a little bit of a break, I'd really like to put a bow on this and move forward with it today. We can always revisit something if we have to, but I'd really like to get the draft off of this. So I'd ask all of you, just let's keep the comments as concise and to the point as possible. If there's new things to bring up, there'll be other times to bring those up, but just keep everything as concise as possible on the topics presented here. I think that'll just help us kind of move this particular process along. So with that, I think we'll just plan to kind of go through each item so we can go, we're under transportation. If we start with, we can go item, 1, 2, 3, et cetera. So and I say 1, 2, 3, the big, the top level here, 1, 2, 3. And any comments that someone has, on anything outlined under those items, and we'll just do as we did at one of the workshops and just kind of go left to right and then back right to left, if that's agreeable to the commission. Any comments or concerns with that, or any ideas on other ways to address this more efficiently for the group? Hearing none. Okay. We'll start with transportation plan number 1. Start with the vice mayor down there to my left. Any thoughts on these items?
guess, I don't know if it would fall under number one or not. But the city manager, I had a discussion last week. About a year and a half ago, we did a road analysis, an asphalt analysis on all of our streets and stuff, and came up with those roads that were in bad repair, or in really bad repair, or could last another 4 or 5 years. I asked her that if we could also look at that, when, like specifically about priority roadways and stuff, about adding that to our half-cent sales tax, so that we could maybe speed up the paving or the repaving of some of those roads. I know some of them were in pretty bad shape, and we weren't even going to look at them because they were so far gone it would take too much money to kind of bring them up to speed. They estimated that we probably should put about $50,000 a year in the budget to repave those roads, and we've only been doing about 25. Some of those roads are on the west side, so I think that if we could take that.
Add a couple of zeros, though. They wanted us to put in $500,000, and we've been
A
putting in
$500,000,
these
yeah, that's what it was.
That's what I thought, yeah.
$250,000.
I was thinking
Okay.
50 grand, that might
All right.
not
I was
work.
thinking, man, that's a
Can't
bargain.
even do a driveway for 50 grand.
All right. So, but I, asked her that if we could also bring that study back up and we could review that as we go through, along with the half-cent sales taxes, that we could look at that as part of that, as a funding source for some of those projects. And that's all I had on that one. Thanks.
Okay. Commissioner McGurk.
Thank you, Mayor. So let me first respond to Vice Mayor Hartman's comments. While I agree we desperately need to increase the amount we set aside for existing road improvements, repaving and those things, I think those should be left towards our normal operating budget. Goes back to when we do talk about the half-cent sales tax, it's not a huge windfall of money. It's about $1.4 million, $1.5 million a year. And the way I personally look at that is a unique windfall amount of money that we can put towards the unanticipated problems of what has occurred over the last, say, 20 years. Developing, I think this is, when I was looking at our local network of roads, in my mind it was, what can we do to better the life, the quality of life, and the level of service of our residents that are so burdened by all the people coming into the community, developing a local road network that keeps us off 44 and allows us to get around. So I didn't want to get too far in the weeds, but I think that when it comes to number one on this specific strategic action plan, my goal would have been to, or is to, develop the little roadways that we can improve, whether it's left turn lanes, right turn lanes, having a road that doesn't go through, add a portion of a road which allows the locals to get around mostly east and west on the north and south side of State Road 44. And then the half-cent sales tax, I think that's where some of our wish list may be able to get funded at the rate of about $1.4 million, $1.5 million a year. So when this one says, what's our transportation plan, present draft new local roadway network plan to city commission in a workshop, I kind of look at this and I say, okay, what is that little network of roads? But I didn't necessarily tie that to the half cent. I'm afraid that the half-cent sales tax, relatively small amount of money to begin with, is going to get more diluted. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. So I just want to make sure I'm clear before we move on real quick. Vice Mayor, how does that differ from what you had said? Were you bringing that up as just an additional clarification point, that not to lose sight of that asphalt study and to try to get the funding back for the road maintenance? Because
I think it encompasses what Commissioner McGurk also said. I agree with him is that we need to look for those ancillary roads, but if we find a target road, like maybe Enterprise Road, that was real poorly on our on our pavement study, and we're looking at that to maybe make some improvements on, then we should do the entire section of that road and kind of fund it all in together. And like you, I'm not necessarily sure want to use half-cent sales tax for maintenance, but I'm also not a big proponent of using it for sidewalks either. I think that's part of the city's responsibility. And we have a whole list of sidewalks in the half-cent sales tax. So as we move forward, we can take a look at this holistically. I don't want to get tied to the list that the county has that we provided with them as this is our only list for half-cent sales tax. I want to keep the options open. If we find a road that we think will improve traffic for the community on a whole, and it's in really bad shape, it may take a little bit more money. We may use that study that we use to say, oh yeah, this is a really bad road. The part of the road is bad. We need to invest a little bit more money into this to make it better long-term.
Okay.
And then we could use our repair money going forward, as the years come along, to kind of offset that.
Okay, got it. Commissioner Sachs.
My concerns are the juxtaposition of a new roadway network plan versus repairing what we have existing. And then there's the joint partnerships with county, city, FDOT, TPO. There's a lot of loose ends. And so right now, I'm counting and thinking on the monies that we will be able to glean just in our city. I'm not counting on the half-penny tax right now because we don't know if people are going to vote for it or not. So I did question from the very beginning the road network plan. I know it was brought up a couple of times that some commissioners were looking at Page, Enterprise, other east-west thoroughfares that we might improve that would make it easier for locals to get around. And I do think repairing existing roads should be a priority there. I don't disagree that we should look at improving our network plan, our infrastructure, to accommodate the ever-increasing traffic, but I think we should concentrate much of our money on fixing the roadways that we have, in partnership or not, and that's where I would direct most of my attention. Again, the network plan I would like to look at. If people are considering roads like Page to be an alternate to 44, that's one consideration. We're slowly, step by step, getting there, and it's always 5-10 years down the line that things do come to pass. So we got a long way to go.
Okay.
And
Mayor, can I get some clarification from Commissioner Sachs? Which pot of money do he want to use for what portion? In other words, we're talking about a local network of, you understand, I just need some clarification as to where he was going with that.
Let me just, I'd just add this, though. I think there's really two discussions, and it's outlined here. The first two are, we have said a strategic priority was improving transportation. And what I think is presented here is a way to do that, which is coming up with, if you allow me to use the term, a master plan of our local roadway network and some possible changes that might improve transportation in our local area. The last item there under number one is the funding strategy. And I think that's a bridge we'll cross, if labeled here in October, to where, there's kind of two pots of money. There's potential sales tax money. There's city revenues. There's other, sources we might not be thinking of now. Partnerships with all those other entities. So, but I think having a plan, regardless of the funding source, having a plan in place is not a bad thing. So I don't know that we have to be clear today, this road and this funding source is, I guess, what I'm trying to say.
no, I agree, and I'm flexible and understand Commissioner McGurk's concern and question. I would, if it were up to me, I would use what existing monies that we allot to repairing roads, and I know $1 million barely makes a mile, but repairs of roads are preeminent to me. We have a lot of roads that are caving in on the edges and a lot of potholes to fix, and so, I would stay the course there and not hope like you're playing poker, waiting for that card on the come.
Yeah.
For that half-penny tax. We have to proceed on our own, kind of independently. for the
Okay.
time being.
Agree. Okay. Commissioner Colodi.
One of the first things, before you get to transportation, I would like to have that phrase added to the action description saying the items listed below are not listed in order of significance. To me, that should be obvious, but when you go through this list, it isn't obvious. So I would like to just add that phrase up at the top.
Okay.
Now, is that acceptable to the rest of the commissioners?
Yeah, I mean, I have no
Sure.
issues with that, just
Thank
for
you.
clarity.
On item A011, I would like to see the date changed for the draft local roadway network to April. I'd like to see that moved up. Now, we talk about it being, it is not a separate document. We're having a capital improvement plan that's going to include both maintenance and new roads. And we should prepare that document so we know how to proceed with the budget when we get that far, as to whether we have to put 50,000 or 500,000 in for repair and capital improvements. But we really got to get the plan going, and we're not. So I want to move that date up. As the mayor was discussing, the funding's very important. But yet, it's a little too soon to do that. We prepare a capital improvement plan, get that lined up. We know we're either going to get sales tax money or we're not. We have to budget a certain amount in our budget. So we just have to prepare for that to have a capital improvement plan. So as to the actual funding sources, that can wait a little while, but not till October after the budget's done. We got to figure that out ahead of time. We got to get these things in order. I would like to change that date to May instead of October.
So you want to change the middle one, the draft local roadway to next month?
This is
Yes.
April.
This is April.
This is
Oh.
April 2nd.
It's already
Yes.
April. Yeah.
Very early, but yes, I'd like to have it prepared. Even if we don't get to discuss it, we got to start work, and we have to do it.
What we have is the sales tax project list, which is all encompassing, but as you've all said, you want to amend it. It's not
It's
finally
encompassing,
adopted, it's a
but it's
draft.
lacking.
So,
We were waiting for projects that all of you would like to add to that. We can certainly, what we're waiting for is, you set it up there, is to see if the sales tax is gonna be approved. That ballot question is we're gonna know the evening of May 21st.
but I think what you're saying, Mike, is let's not worry about the funding source right now. Let's just get all of our wish
Yeah.
list, so to speak,
Exactly.
on the table, and then we'll worry about how we fund
Yes.
it or portions of it later. So I'm fine with that, other than I just don't want to be too ambitious and say we can get it in April, but that's, I guess, up to everyone else to
What
have a
you
little
would
nice.
have is
I-
what we've given you, which is the sales tax project list.
Right.
Because it's a list, a very comprehensive list of close to $40 million in projects, the majority of them being transportation.
Right.
And
But there's,
Okay.
I think, a lot of little nuances that Mike and I have talked about in meetings, left lane, right turn lane here, there, and that's what you're talking about adding to the list, is that
Correct.
correct? Okay.
Yes. I don't expect to get them all done this year, but you got to have on a list. You got to be ready for it.
Yes, that begs the question, Mr. Mayor. What is the new local roadway network plan? I know you guys have discussed that, some possibilities, but let's solidify that, and if we can, identify some roadways that will improve transportation around the city. I still haven't, other than the few roads you've discussed before, I think we need more than just an east-west corridor.
Yeah, okay. So my thoughts on all this kind of encapsulates a couple of different things mentioned here. So to Commissioner Sachs' point, what I would like to see is a plan. I can tell you the pet project that, matters to me because it's near my backyard and I drive on it every day or not. But what I haven't seen, and maybe it's out there and I haven't seen, and I would even contend the sales tax list is not this, is here are some strategic projects that, you know, the experts tell us, or staff tells us would alleviate, you know, congestion, would alleviate that peak demand congestion that we're experiencing. And here's why, you know, here's kind of the data behind that. So I think when I think of what a local roadway network plan is, that's what it would be. And it would say, okay, within 5 years, if we were able to make these connections to more integrate, you know, this neighborhood and connect it with that one, that will improve our overall flow. Now, there's always the question of how you pay for that. I mean, you can plan everything. I mean, one of my old employers, we had a master plan. We had millions of dollars in projects, and we didn't have millions of dollars. But you have the plan, so you know what you're aiming towards, and that can help you inform other decisions. So as you're making a decision today, you can look to the plan and say, yeah, but we don't want to do that because of the plan, or we want to do that because it'll set us up better for the plan. As somebody over here said, one of the two of you said, you know, hey, if we're going to do this part, we might as well do the whole road, and we could save a little money because it's on the plan anyway, and let's do it now and save money. So that's what I'm thinking this is bringing. So to Commissioner Colodey's point, it's really a capital improvements plan centered around transportation. And then we start chipping away at that. And that plan will allow us to rack and stack priority projects.
Plus the fact that we have impact fees, transportation impact fees that we can't even spend because we really don't have a plan as to where to spend them. Get the plan, then do the work.
So I think we're all saying variants of the same thing. My concern is that the April timing, I hear you on that, and I had made a note that, you know, October's a long time away, but I guess August is when we'd really be talking about it. I don't know if April's doable. I mean, we already have 2 extra meetings in April to even get all that we're trying to get done in April. So I think that's a bit ambitious. I'd rather give more time and get a better product. So I think something in the May, June is probably more reasonable. I'd point you to that staff assigned column. Brian's name is on there quite a bit, and so I just think we have to be, you know, we have to be conscientious of that.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, based on what you have said, I think we should change both of those second 2 dates to May, if that's acceptable to the rest of the commissioners. If we don't make it, we tried.
I guess we just don't know what a work product that you want to see is. You're going to have an amended CIE as part of the comprehensive plan review. We have given you a comprehensive list of projects that we could not get a final vote on. We agreed on a percentage, 70% roads, 30% water quality. It had every intersection improvement that you all individually and collective have talked about on it. You have a sales tax ballot question on May 21st. So if we were to schedule anything, you all need to tell us, do you want to schedule that? The ballots go out to folks in early May. Our May meetings are the 14th and the 28th. The 28th, quite frankly, might be really good because we're going to know of May if the sales tax was approved or not. When Brian and I talked about this morning, if the sales tax isn't approved, and Commissioner Coloni just said it, then that impacts the impact fee workshop that we want to have with you in June. Because then you do have road projects that weren't going to be funded from sales tax that you can shift the focus on. Remember how we were missing road projects to be able to calculate the new impact fees on, and how the consultants had to go to a different formula because we didn't have city roads that had capacity issues. That our roads are county and our roads are FDOT, and the county's impact fees are already covering the county roads. So if you want us to bring you, and Brian again, transportation planning is in his area, if we could bring that on the 28th of May, then you'll know if we have sales tax funding. And it also can feed into your impact fee discussion in June. Does that sound like a good date? Because we're doing your budget workshop on May 21st, so it all kind of flows. If there are projects that you want to put in the budget, if you want to increase the sidewalk budget, or if you want to increase the repaving from the 250 to the 500,000.
Yeah,
All
okay.
of that just flows right in your budget discussion.
Any-
For our newbies, the budget discussion is just that. You don't get a budget document until the last Tuesday in June. You don't set your millage rate until the last Tuesday in July. And the October date was October 1 on the new fiscal year, was why the October. But it does all tie, you're right, it all.
Any objections moving this to May 28th for the present draft item under 1?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
May is fine by me, and I will have a written list of streets that I think should be included by the end of the week.
Okay.
Okay, can we have a date when we should have submitted to staff a list of anything we want added to that for that May 28th?
I would say if we can get it by the 1st of May, I mean, construction estimates we're fine at, you know, in terms of pretty much with all the work that's been done on the
First of-
sales tax, on
Yeah,
the
that's fine.
cost.
First of
Yeah.
May is perfect.
How's that?
Thank you.
Question for my colleagues and staff. Whether the tax passes or not, our priority list will have to hinge on what the county and state does at their level. So we always have to keep our eyes and ears open, whether they're going to do anything with Pioneer, the exit up at Pioneer, any improvements in the northwest corridor, and a whole lot of things. Even Saxon over on Beachside, will the county help us to repair that road? So it's all very fluid and convoluted.
Yeah, it can be, and that's why we're certainly not gonna be able to solve it today.
No.
And we're extremely off pace. At this rate, we'll get through 3 whole items, so, we're gonna pick it up a bit. But yes, it is fluid. I would argue, though, that, knowing prioritizing is just that. It is, if you had one additional dollar, where would you spend it? And so that somewhere there is the perfect place that is the next top priority, for the next dollar that we get. Having that list and then having the funding are 2 completely separate conversations, at least it always has been for me. So I don't plan on having a specific list of roads, but I would like to definitely sit down with Brian and spend some time talking about what a master transportation plan looks like between now and May 1st, and looking at some other cities and seeing what's been done. So, item 2, reducing the peak travel time with the trolley. That's been crossed off. We talked about that last one. If no objections, we'll move right past that.
Why don't we just take it off the list completely, so
Ye-
I don't have to see it again?
Yeah, I would say items that are crossed off, we can take off the list. Yeah.
It's
Thank you.
crossed off, yeah.
Item 2, expand the role of police in mitigating traffic congestion and threats to pedestrian safety. We'll start. We'll just go the same direction if you're okay with that, Vice Mayor. Start with you on the left. So let's take that whole kind of any of those 3 items under item number 2.
The only thing I would, do you want us, are we going to go with the list of kind of projects sort of format? Is that what you're looking for? Because I really like to have an enhanced pedestrian crosswalk there at Myrtle and Canal Street. We have them all up and down Atlantic so people can go to the beach, but the junior high kids can't get across the road because there's no traffic enforcement there. There's no, not enforcement, but there's no traffic signaling there. It's just a simple sign. If we could go to a lighted sign, much like Atlantic, then, that would help with the safety of the children crossing the street there on Myrtle. Is that how we want to kind of go through these things? If we just want to kind of a brief discussion and then submit a list to staff, is that how you want to?
Yeah,
Or do you
I don't.
wanna kick 'em out?
I wasn't planning on getting down to the individual item. To me, that's what will happen when they bring some of these back.
Okay.
On most of these, there's a spot where it'll come back to us for in-depth discussion on that particular item. So like in this one, agenda item for additional locations be presented 226. I don't remember that one, but I'm sure it got pushed. But so point is, I think the detailed discussion will be there. The question is, do we want to change anything directionally with what we're doing here?
No, I think that all looks good to me.
Yeah. 226 was the agreement with the county for the funding of the additional pedestrian crossings
Okay.
on Beachside. And Commissioner Sachs, I can't remember if that was the one on Saxton or the one on South Atlantic, but that was an agenda item.
That's a question I have to bring up quickly. It was never brought up to me or discussed that we needed further improvements on South Atlantic. That was kind of a confusing issue. I had asked for 2 additional lit pedestrian-activated crosswalks, as you know, for 8th Avenue and Sandpiper. I have not heard back from the county. I don't know if you have. It's not on their consent agenda. I keep looking. And these are the kind of improvements that Vice Mayor Hartman, I'm sure would like to see on Myrtle, something I'd asked for a long time ago. We may build consensus to push, is it a county road?
No, it's an FDOT road, and we
Yeah,
have
that's
asked
even harder.
on that one numerous times, and they have not moved forward with it. It's an FDOT road, it's not county. Actually, county, and Commissioner Sachs will tell you, it's been great to work with.
Yes, they have.
They're still pitching in at 50% funding.
So let's take this one then. It sounds like what I'm hearing is we probably once again need to do some kind of an inventory, and maybe there's a date where any commissioners that have feedback for their particular zone, and then of course any staff suggestions or feedback where we kind of codify a list of here's areas where we think we need to improve pedestrian safety. We have a list. We'll figure out funding later, but we can at least have a list that we've kind of racked and stacked, and then as opportunities come up with funding, we fund them.
And we can add it as a category, basically, in the plan, Brian, that we present on the 28th of May. We'll just
Yes.
have a line item for pedestrian crosswalks.
So commission, same date, May 1st, send a list to staff of areas in your zone, or others, I guess, but.
Mayor, I was just going to mention,
Sure.
to help move this along, we have identified those other locations as our plan to be a budgeted item that you'll have a chance to look at. We will include those at the end of May, so additional intersections could be added to that list if they're not already identified.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? We kind of got off base there on, any other comments on the pedestrian safety item? If not, we'll go to number 2, manually control major thoroughfare. That one's marked as complete. Item number 3, implement an unmanned aerial system to enhance traffic monitoring, search and rescue, etc. Discussion on that item. We'll begin to my right, Commissioner Colodi.
No comment.
Commissioner Sachs.
Question, drones?
No,
Unmanned aerial system?
it's actually set on existing post. So it is, and the reason it says October 2019, because it's capital purchases, and it would be in the next budget starting October 1. So you will see in Chief's budget the UAS system, but it does not involve drones, that I'm aware of, no drones.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on that item?
And fire can use it also? I guess?
I think it's tied into the Leo side of the house,
Okay.
not the far side.
But they're a phone call away. I'm sure I hope they'll share information. All right, next item. Item 4, any comments on item 4?
Commissioner Coloni, this one we did before last commission meeting, actually first commission meeting in March, and Commissioner Coloni now has asked us to look at, and I've passed this on to Chief, so if you want to amend this, we could, to look at adding additional parking ambassadors to do additional enforcement. And that was from your first commission meeting in March. And what I passed on to Chief the next day was even if he wanted to come in with something mid-year, it's not general fund, they're parking fund revenues. So he was gonna look at that. I think that's the item that, if you want to amend that to say additional staff to review requests for additional parking enforcement. We call them parking ambassadors, but it's parking enforcement.
I kind of took that as being complete, and I was waiting for June to see them out there. And the main place that I would like to see them is during our special events.
Right.
And so that would be fine. It's a great improvement. We could leave it as complete.
Okay. I know he's going to be bringing you an agenda item, so.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other discussion on that item? Hearing, yes.
Quickly, I brought it up before, possibly increasing the parking violation fines because they're so close to what it costs to park. People are gambling and not paying the parking fee and hoping they don't get a ticket. So I was thinking about considering raising the fines. I don't like the idea, but it's a thought. Any thoughts from my colleagues?
I have no issues looking at it. I'd like to see, you know, what our, if that's true, if the fine and the ticket are just about the same, then yeah, it's not gonna be much of a deterrent. I know, the one place I've gotten a lot of parking tickets, I know I talk about a lot, but New Orleans. I've learned not to park illegally in New Orleans because it's $3 to feed the meter. You can do it from your iPhone, or you pay a $128 ticket. And if you wanna fight it, you have to show up in person, because I was gonna fight one and that didn't work either, so.
Well, you're giving staff all kinds of good ideas now. I could see their heads going.
I'm just saying, I mean, I think Commissioner may have a point. If the fine is 28, I mean, I'm just using numbers. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head. But if the fine is 28 and the fee's 25, yeah, I'm the kind of guy, I'm gonna just gamble, so. Maybe I shouldn't say that.
Consider
right.
that down the road, maybe.
Yeah, right. I do think we should look at it. I don't think we have to add it to this plan, but I absolutely think it's something we can bring up. I think staff has heard us, so maybe just make a note at some future meeting if we can add that to an agenda item to discuss, you know, kind of all of our fees and whatnot. Any other discussion on this item? Hearing none, item 3. We'll start again to my left, Commissioner, Vice Mayor Hartman. Kind of anything in that bucket, any comments, concerns on those items?
I've got nothing. I think Commissioner McGurk's doing a great job.
Okay. All right, Commissioner McGurk?
I will say nothing other than take those accolades. Thank
All
you.
right. Commissioner Sachs, any comments?
Commissioner McGurk has represented us well. I did have a very big concern extending that trail through the heart of the city. That's our biggest problem, getting it over to the Marine Discovery Center. I think that's our problem. Would you agree?
Well, I don't know which trail there's a lot of
Yeah,
trails.
it's a lot of trail.
Where the river to sea trail, we have a new alignment. And we are working with FDOT and their consultants. We actually had a meeting. Staff and I went and met with District 5 Secretary Mike Shannon on this. The bottom line is we are working on an alignment that is much better for the city, much better for the trail, much better for everybody. And it actually is going to take it from Myrtle and start heading it out west a little bit, wrap it around the backside of the sports complex. The Marine Discovery Center that has not been a discussion. There's no way to bring that trail through the city proper and the old part of our community without dramatic problems and creating something that nobody would want.
Yeah.
So the news there is all good news.
And quickly, that is separate from the trail considered on Dixie Highway that goes to Ormond?
Yes,
Yes. Okay.
If
yes.
Pam knows what you're talking about, that's great. She can answer. I'm not
Yes.
sure which one
He's
she's talking about.
the one that we're working on moving west, correct?
Yes.
Yes, off of US 1 and off of Riverside.
The river to city.
Yeah.
So we have 2 trails to consider.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Commissioner Colodi, any comments on that one? I see some move to June notes here, I think, on,
Yeah, they're not on the first item. They are a little farther down, item 4 for the LDR, and even farther down for that.
well, this is anything in A.03.
A.03,
so
item
one-
number 4 on that one. We have December of 2019. I would like to see that moved up to an earlier date whenever it's feasibly possible for staff to do that. I know we did want to do some updating on the LDRs this year. So what would a feasible earlier date be? Mr. Bryan?
Brian, do you want to tie that into the impact fee workshop in June or so? 'Cause I know we were looking at intermodal.
We could do that. What we had in mind here, this is when we get new development in, looking at things like connectivity of sidewalks to adjacent neighborhoods, access from neighborhood to trails, school bus stops, things that we don't have in our LDR today. because it's a little antiquated, is to just review it and bring that back. I don't think it's a huge task. I see no problem bringing that back, at least in draft format in the June timeframe.
Thank you. That would be great.
Any concerns from the commission with making progress faster? No. Do you like how I
It's
framed
just
that?
the way you worded that.
That's it for item 3.
All right.
Thank you.
So my only comment on that, again, I think doing a good job of managing this. I'd just like to clarify, and I'm no expert on this, but for some, and Reverend Dove mentioned it earlier, in many cases, I've heard criticisms that we're spending all this money on trails, and yet we have other issues, maybe in my neighborhood or your neighborhood. We are experts at taking cheap money, and so sometimes there's funding available for one thing, and it may not be our next priority, but it's money that we can, that is available from some other source that we're not coming out of pocket for it. Commissioner McGurk can probably speak to that better, but I mean, on here it says 10% local match required. So it's like we get this great asset for the community. We're spending, dimes on the dollar, but we go to some local issue, fixing the sidewalk right over there. The county's not gonna step up for that. We gotta pay 100% of that. And it may cost us as much to do 10 feet as it does to do 3 miles with partnerships. So just something to keep in mind on that. I don't know if you want to
Right, well,
elaborate briefly.
you hit the nail on the head, Mayor. A lot of the projects we do, especially things like sidewalks and trails, there is specific money set aside, either from the federal government or the state government, that is only earmarked for those specific kinds of projects. And I certainly understand how people can say, my gosh, we have so many major problems in our community. How are we building a new trail? And the reality of that is the vast majority of the cost comes from a different funding source other than the city, and it's only tied to that specific kind of project.
Yeah, good point. Not saying we couldn't try to change that, but this governing body can't, but others could. Item number 4, A4, reform parking in and around high demand areas. Any comments quickly on this one from the, starting with Vice Mayor? Go back.
No, I'm good.
Commissioner McGurk?
I don't think I have any comment on this. Anything specific you're looking for?
Just same thing we've been doing. Any concerns or comments?
No comment.
Commissioner Sacks?
My only concern is that we don't expand these high-demand areas to negatively affect the quality of life for our residents. I went out this last weekend to the beach, and it was high tide, the beach was closed, the beach was packed, the roads were packed. We're really, thank you, Mayor, we're really pressed. And so I don't want to make that, exacerbate that problem going forward.
Yeah. Okay. And I don't think we're not trying to expand the high demand areas. I think we're trying to identify them and solve them, is what I read here. I've got one comment on this, but Commissioner Colodi?
Once again, I'd just like to see it sooner, but honestly, I don't have a real feel as to how it's going to proceed.
Yeah, and so I'll just dovetail on that. My thoughts on this when I read it is, I don't know that we need till June to create a map identifying zones where high demand parking continues to occur. I mean, I think we can ask any citizen where that is and pretty much know within 10 minutes. So that doesn't solve the issue. I mean, I guess my struggle with this one is, there's no item here to kind of solve it, which I guess 5 and 6 may get to, but yeah.
Yeah, item number 4, I almost thought it related more towards some type of electronic application, such as we're talking about putting signs out on the highway saying you can't go on the beach because it's high tide, whether it would be something that would be more specifically tied into the various parking lots we do have and how much space was in it. That's where I thought it was going, and I don't know how we could do that even by December, to tell you the truth.
I mean, to me, 4, 5, and 6, I would like to see maybe just clustered and the tagline be address the parking deficit, or, look at the parking deficit, figure out how we might address a parking deficit, especially during high demand areas. I don't think we have a constant parking deficit, but addressing real or perceived parking deficit during high demand, peak times. And all of this would kind of roll up under that one item.
If I might,
Sure.
I kind of agree on all areas except the Flagler Avenue parking update of that study. It was a very definitive study and had a lot of recommendations in it.
Yeah.
And I don't think that calls for going out and gathering a lot of new data. It's basically refreshing the data. And it's in my district. There's a lot of problems down there that go on with all of our special events. And I would just kind of like to get a handle on it. I know we can't solve it immediately. I don't want to cut back on the events, but I just want to kind of protect our neighborhood. So I think that this study is important for us to at least get more of a handle on what we have right now. So I would like to see that moved up from June of next year to maybe June of this year.
Just an update on that particular item, just following up on the last commission meeting, we did initiate the update of the study, the Flagler parking study. I believe in our time frame, conservatively, we thought completion by August. We do need to gather some data, and the key issue there was, do we go collect it in April or possibly wait until school's out and we collect, this is actual lot counts on Fridays and Saturdays, or we wait till June to do that. So if it's April, we could deliver that study sooner. If we wait till June, or possibly do both, it would be at the latest probably a June, July timeframe on that completion.
Were you able to collect that in-house?
Yes.
So negligible costs relatively? I mean, staff time, but no, we're not paying outside consultants at the.
No, the only-
outside.
We may bring in interns. We brought in, we were
Yeah,
able to get
but,
some
yeah, negligible
UCF
cost, yeah.
interns when we worked on the last plan, and they actually did some weekend inventories for
Got it.
us.
I would personally like to see, I mean, the more data, the better, but I'd love to see kind of an April versus a peak, June, July contrast. I think that would be a good point, because April is probably a lower point. Snowbirds are starting to leave. It's not spring break.
That's the concern.
And so, but I'd love to just see that, because again, you've got peak demand problems and you've got steady state, and knowing that whole picture, I think would be, I would love to see it personally.
Well, and the other piece that we add every year, the county has it for, we get 500,000 cars a year accessing the beach. The county has that on weekends and weekday data by month. So when we bring it to you, that will also be in the data. Because what happens is, high tide, somebody mentioned it on Saturday, Commissioner Sachs did, and Sunday.
Yep.
Beach accessors were closed, boom. Not all 500,000 cars, but it felt like it on Sunday. And we're looking for parking.
Yeah.
So we get it. We'll add that on. So I think what Brian is saying there, and I agree with Commissioner Coloni. Remember, staff did not write once in blue on
Yeah.
4-1.
Yep.
So God knows what the one person, sitting in the transportation meeting in CCR meant. I took it the way Commissioner Coloni took it. There, if you go to St. Petersburg, Florida, you pull up the app on your phone, and it tells you where there's available parking.
Yeah.
And that's downtown St.
Yep.
Pete, old St. Pete. If you go to San Francisco, same thing. And I thought the same thing well, maybe we can tie it into the existing parking system that we have, because it's all by tag, but that's kind of what I was thinking. But we didn't write 4 or 1, and we were like you, trying to figure out. I think it just kind of flows with 405, quite frankly, in terms of the update on the Flagler study. And Brian is saying on 051, August 2019 on both of those, because I think they kind of go together.
And the parking structure was on the list like this. We are going to bring those costs back as part of the study. We don't anticipate that being something to recommend due to not only cost, but just character of the community that could be lost, but we will at least mention it and look at it.
I think some things is just, we got to have the discussion. I mean, it's like the trolley. Let's just have the discussion and then move on. And if some future commission wants to rediscuss it, that's their prerogative. Vice Mayor, did you have? I thought I heard you.
I was just going to comment that the problem with the county's numbers on beach access is that doesn't include the thousands of cars that are parked on 3rd and Flagler when they close the beach access, because those cars aren't counted
Yeah.
because they never get to the beach, but they're still here on our roadways and causing the problem. I mean, Sunday was really terrible because Third was closed and Flagler was closed. I mean, they were backed all the way to the bridges, so.
Yep.
And we've talked about that, putting a sign at Canal or at Mission Road saying
Signs
beach
are
is
up.
full, but that's not, we've already determined that if you've driven an hour to get here, you're not gonna see the sign and say, oh, let me turn around.
It's high tide, go
They're
home.
still gonna come in, they're gonna try to find something, they're gonna find something to do. So, you know, I just don't wanna spend a whole lot of time trying to tell people who drove an hour that they should go back home. It's not gonna work.
Yeah.
And what happens right now, the ad agency does have an app up and active. And it actually has all the beach accesses on it. It's on my phone. It's New Smyrna Beach. And our officers have the access codes. And either
Yeah.
our officers on the weekends are getting it directly from the beach patrol, or beach patrol is calling the ad agency directly, and they're trying to do real-time information on the beach accesses. But again, you gotta know the app is there.
Yeah, I was about to say, the technology is
up.
the easy part. It's
Are we
the
tracking how
Technology's
many
easy.
people access the app and use it?
visitor bureau
Yes,
can
but
tell us
this
that,
is
yeah.
only the second
That'd be
year.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. So any concern, I think I had heard a lot of synergy around items really 4 through 6 is kind of one total item that Brian kind of summed up well. Any concern with kind of collapsing that down to parking analysis and plan that's presented to the commission with updated data of the parking studies? Commissioner Colodi talked about using 2 collection points, April and June, so be presented sometime in August, I guess. Yeah. Any concerns with that? Any concerns to the commission? Okay. That gets us to public safety. Quick time check, we have about an hour left. And we got through one item. It was an important one, though. All right, public safety. Any comments? We'll start again, Vice Mayor, on any of the items up there, 1 through 3.
No, I know from the fire standpoint, a lot of this has to do with the county's plan with their transport issue and how it impacts our people. So I guess that's gonna be a wait and see to see how that goes.
And we're gonna bring you the transport agreement. Chief and I met at 2 today, and in May, the reason it says May, on the 21st, you had asked us to bring in the staffing analysis and the list of capital projects, so all of that is coming on May 21st. And then he's also gonna bring in we've given you the draft of the transport agreement, because the transport agreement and the county's improvements, or not, are gonna drive your decision, I think, in terms of both the staffing levels and the long-term plan there. So all of that'll be coming to you, that's why it says May.
Okay.
I'm good.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think the two issues are the staffing levels with, we're at our highest staffing levels. We're equal where we were back in the day before we had layoffs. The transport is an issue that's gonna affect staffing, and then the annexations. So I think, to me, that's where the two conversations are, and I'm comfortable. I think we got a pretty good grip on, we just need the additional information to start coming in.
Okay. Commissioner Sacks.
Quickly on staffing, independent of what the county does, I think if we provide a better, higher level of service with fully manned apparatus, we have nice new stations, beautiful equipment. If we had the manning and the traffic lights for those signals, our level of service would go up. Possibly the insurance ratings would go down and save the people some money, and hopefully save lives a little faster and better.
Okay. Commissioner Colodi. Any comments?
It's fine as written.
Okay. My only comment on that, I agree, and this certainly isn't an area of expertise for me, but I do know, I've read a little bit on this, and I'm sure you're miles ahead of me, but obviously firefighting really is almost a misnomer for what the department does now. I joked at a State of the City address that responded to thousands of calls. A few of them were fires. It was in the hundreds, and there were thousands of calls. So I hope we're any support we can provide to making sure we're, you know, a modern fire department and, you know, trending that way. I read an article about one city, I think it was in America, maybe it was overseas, but they had actually shifted a lot of their guys onto motorcycles because they realized they were getting stuck in traffic with these giant rigs they couldn't get around. And so they put somebody on a motorcycle that had all the EMT life-saving equipment, and they were able to navigate through special event type traffic, backed up traffic, and they could get on the scene minutes faster than all of their other rigs. So things like that, I just hope we're progressive in things like that, but not an item for this. Item C, public participation or increased participation. This is pretty dense, but let's just take the 5 items that are up here, and actually this is all of them but one. Any comments on this kind of block, Commissioner Hartman, Vice Mayor Hartman?
And remembering the blue again was not from staff, so we just tried to make our best interpretation.
No, I think it's good as it sits or stands.
Okay,
I'm good.
Commissioner Sacks.
I have nothing to add.
Commissioner Colodi.
No, the only comment is on item 6, just the wording. SEVAA worked to set up in 2016, so it shouldn't be pending anymore, it should be done.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I think that is right. One comment I have, if you'd flip back one, item 2, I was curious, is that Brian, is that this Brian? And
I mean, it comes out of Development Services. I mean, Bob
Okay.
Mathens really would take the lead on that, so
Okay.
it is on our schedule.
okay. All right. Just with all the other things we've got you tasked with, collecting information on museums was not my highest priority for you, but I mean, it's important.
we
It's
have
very
a-
important, but
We have a great, capable staff that will
Okay.
handle accordingly.
all right. I thought I had one other. Nope, guess not. D, coastal environmental resilience. Vice Mayor, any comments? This one's got a lot, so let's chunk it up to maybe these first 5 that are shown here, and then we'll go to the next page worth. Any comments on these 5?
No, I'm good with those.
Commissioner McGurk? Commissioner Sacks?
I just need to stress that we need to act, and, you know, we have good points here, but as I brought up at the last meeting where we had to vote on another coastal setback, I'll call it a breach, because we went east of the line again. We really need to, we spent about $80,000, I think, with the DMC to start the discussion on coastal setback, and I don't know if we ever really summarized that and came to a conclusion where we could determine definitively yes or no how we want to defend that line. And in light of sea rise, which is looming, I mean, our neighbors to the south, Satellite Beach, are facing it right now. It's not a storm, no moon tide, they're facing it. And so we need to take a more serious look at it. If it has anything to do with the coastal setback, and I think it does, I think it would help us define that and hopefully make us a better city,
Okay.
safer city.
Commissioner Colodi?
Now, on 011, under D, I would just like to see those dates moved up from December to September and October respectively, just to bring them forward a little bit. It's an important subject.
Is D1, was that the Class 2 discussion
Yeah.
on Class 2
Yep.
stormwater? I think that's on Brian's work plan. Brian, I'm not sure, we had present the, oh, I know what it was. It was present proposal in June, which was probably a draft.
That'd be having one of our stormwater consultants prepare a proposal, bring it to the commission, then doing the study, We can look at whether that could be pushed up from December.
Exactly.
Understood.
It's $25,000. Shouldn't take that long to use that money up.
So since that kicks off with some external people, maybe they can start that sooner, yeah. Okay,
We could set it as a goal. If we don't make it, blame the consultants.
as a former consultant, Mike knows that.
Yes,
Mike
I
knows
know
that
them very well and how that works.
well. You get blamed many times, I bet.
Gotta
All right.
give them a deadline or else they'll be done at the end.
Okay. You flipped it, right? I looked away for a second and it changed. All right. Item, so I had the same comment actually on that item number 1. Just a general comment while I'm thinking about it, for the next version of this, the final version. I'd say let's take all of the ones that are complete, move them. I don't want to lose track of that. Let's celebrate our victories. So take those and move them to a separate document or the end of the document or something, but just to clean it up so we're not sifting through all of that. I'd also say on the status that if we had maybe a couple of other statuses, so like if something is pending versus in progress would be, to me, there's not started, there's in progress, and there's complete, just for 3 broad swaths. If we wanted to get real fancy, we could have like a % complete or some kind of a, something like that. But I'd be okay just knowing if we're, because I read through some of them and it said pending, but I know that we're actively working on it. So just being able to distinguish that would be helpful as well. All right. Okay, that was it on this one. Vice Mayor, anything on 6 through 10 on this item?
No.
Commissioner McGurk.
Not necessarily, I just want to make a brief comment about this overall. I want to stress the importance of when we pass what we think are important feel-good things, that we're taking into account what the possible negative ramifications are on the small business community. I'm constantly trying to remind everybody that we love our eclectic small business community, but if you put so many restrictions where you make it financially impossible to be able to do small business development and projects, then we're only going to have the Starbucks here. We're only going to have the big guys here. So as we move forward with this, I'll bring it up in the future, but I would certainly like staff, as we create more regulation that we think is a very good idea, what is the other side of that? What is the downside of that? What is the additional cost? So I just wanted to mention that. Thank you, Mayor.
That wasn't for any specific item here, right? Okay.
Not specific,
I'm
just
serious,
covers,
I'm like-
covers the whole thing.
All right. If I can just piggyback on that for a minute, then I'll come to Commissioner Sachs. I agree with you. I absolutely agree. I'm all for raising standards. I've argued that business is used to operating in a regulatory environment. It's changing regulatory environment that makes it very difficult to operate in. And I actually spoke to the Economic Development Advisory Board probably a month ago, and told them one role I'd like to see them start taking more of an active part in is helping the commission understand as we talk through potential changes. I'd love for them to come back with not even a position, like the P&Z does, but hey, here's our thoughts. Here's some pros and cons of how this may impact us economically, because that's what they're there for. So I'm hopeful they'll play a more active role in that, and as we appoint other members, I take that very seriously. So I absolutely agree with you. That doesn't mean we can't change things, but we absolutely should keep an eye on that ball. So getting back to this kind of list, 6 through 10, any concerns or comments on these items, Commissioner Sachs?
Yes, I'll make a point, and to Commissioner McGurk's point, I do have some sensitivity to our smaller businesses, and of course the plastics reduction would be my wish to be voluntary at first. If there was tremendous buy-in, that's another story. That would come down the road, and I'm still waiting and hopeful we'll have something to vote on soon for plastics. The other issue was the Class stormwater outfall. I know you had a concern about smaller businesses having to provide the Class 2 stormwater, and I think we should draw a line at smaller projects. Maybe their impact is not so great, but what I had in mind were developments of regional significance, like the size of coastal woods or areas like that, that we would need those Class 2 stormwater outfalls. So I don't want to hammer the little guy.
Great, I
That's the
appreciate the
thought there.
just a consideration.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Any comments on 6 through 10?
Yes,
Commissioner Sacks, you're done? All right.
Okay.
Good. Go ahead.
I thought you forgot me.
No, I didn't forget you. We just got derailed there for a minute. I'm trying to get us back onto,
Under item 6, D06,
yep.
is that Turnbull? Is that what that meant, Turnbull Creek bond issue?
Yeah.
Why don't we put that in there so we know what it means?
We can do that.
Change the
Yeah.
name, so
Yeah.
we know what it is.
And we need to add, the committee was formed after we did this draft on 214. The presentation on the property acquisition, we did the procedures, but the presentation on the next round of priorities is at their meeting in April. So we probably need to just adjust for the committee meetings that are being held as well. And I wanted to give a shout out to city staff. It was last week while I was gone, but I hope you all know that we were one of only 6 grants funded statewide, and that you did receive the Florida Communities Trust money. So just a little short of $4 million for your first acquisition on Turnbull Creek. So thank you, Nancy, and planning, and Mike Sansbury, and Phil, and everybody that worked on that grant application so hard, and Lonnie and GIS. They did a remarkable job. Nancy
Very
went up
good.
and presented in Tallahassee last Tuesday.
I did not know that.
I don't know that. Good
So,
job.
very good. I'm glad to hear that. Last line on 06, it says, trust for public land to begin negotiating with landowners. We haven't picked out which ones. I know they're kind of doing it,
You
but,
haven't at all. You're right.
but we haven't picked any of them out yet, so
You're not. You're
That's-
you're absolutely correct.
shouldn't be ongoing.
Yeah.
It presents a bad picture to the public if they think we're doing that, because we're not supposed to be. Okay, item,
Is that in, you still in items 1 through 10, or 6 through 10?
I'm checking my notes.
I hope.
I think that's it.
D06, yeah.
I would just like, on item number 8, Water Management District, I would like them to give us some information concerning the fertilizer use and the other type of things that they might be contemplating, and then we can see whether we should make them any stricter here, which we can do.
Okay.
And that's it, thank you.
Okay. Good comments. I agree. I had the same note on the negotiations that caught my eye as well. So I think we changed the wording to say subsequent to commission review and approval or something to that.
Yeah, it should work out really well. What we're trying to do is wrap it around the grant schedule for a Trust for Public Lands in ECHO. So when we present in April, the committee will be asked to look at the next 2 to 3 years of grant submittals and properties that would make sense to submit based on all the biodata. And then we've got a joint meeting with the commission and the committee in May, so you guys can sign off on that, and we could start working on that next round of grant applications is the timeframe.
Are most of those grants, sidetrack for a minute, but we're back on schedule. Are most of those grants, if we went ahead and purchased property today that we didn't have a grant for, but we think it might apply, Mike could get one eventually, you can't go apply later. You have to do it concurrently.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
There is one thing I did neglect.
All right.
New item, D06.1. I'd like to add a section, because I know I've discussed this with staff and some other people. Prepare a database that has the taxpayer identification number, the bio input, and the cost factors. Have something prepared, and that gives us a guide as to where we should look. So if we do focus on one particular section of the creek, that people can see that we've looked at all of the sections. So we don't put the cart before the horse.
Yeah,
I would appreciate that.
Yeah.
I like that. One thing too, to be clear on this, just for maybe Phil, as you go through this, and just reminded me while we have a second, I had a call today or this week from a citizen who, they're somewhere around Turnbull Bay, and they were concerned because they were thinking, they were trying to get prepared because they had heard about this kind of tertiary and thought it was like an eminent domain thing. And so I had to explain to them, no, this is, you will have a choice. Like, I don't know whether your property would qualify. That's not my call. There's a process we'll be following. Obviously, someone knocking your door at some point. But it certainly isn't any kind of an eminent domain thing. You'll always, as a landowner, have an option. So if we can just clarify that as we go through this whole process, keep that in mind.
And we also have
Scare
the
landowners.
architect of Volusia Forever speaking at their April meeting, the committee's April meeting on easements as well, because the commission had asked us to look at easements and the committee asked us. And then we're going to be talking to them and then talking to you about almost, if there's a lot of single-family existing residential properties north of Pioneer, so that would be like a separate program. And Mayor, I think that's probably, I don't know if that person lived in that area, but just talking about either easements for now or first right of refusal if they go to sell their property, so we're going to tie all of that in for you when we get to the joint meeting in May.
Okay. The only other comment I had on I think Kalodi may have mentioned this, but the fertilizer ordinance, and I guess my hope there was if there was anything, I'm going to bet there's something we can steal there. I'm going to bet other cities have done this, so I'm hoping we can steal it. It wouldn't present too much concern or heartburn for Kerry, and we can say, look, this is what other cities have done. Let's just make sure we're, joining that, and it wouldn't have a major impact and wouldn't impact developers and all those other things that normally get us in hot water. So I don't know that we have to change this date, but if we can just, I'm ready to go as fast as anybody on that one. Summer is coming, fertilizer season is coming, and it would do a lot of damage from what the data says. And I know Lisa's here, and she talks about this all the time. We talk a lot about septic tanks, but fertilizers are doing as much or more damage than septics is what most studies say. So,
Question, Mr. Mayor?
Sure.
I didn't see it, and I may be remiss for my vision, any discussion or line item for option 1 of the reasonable assurance plan. Do we have that in consideration for our strategic plan?
I don't know that it's a specific area. It is a project on
sales
both our
tax.
sales tax list as well as the county sales tax list, but it could be very much. I had adding one back here on the update on the coastal construction setback line. So maybe just to not lose it, we do want to add an item. And I guess what Commissioner Sachs is saying, it's like a placeholder. If we don't get sales tax, then we still need to do it out of our stormwater funds.
Yes.
So it's just the implementation of the Indian River Lagoon Assurance Plan and our projects specifically.
I have no concerns with that. Any concerns? Hearing none. All right. Items 11 through 15. Vice Mayor, back to you.
No, I think I'm good with all of them.
Okay. Commissioner McGurk.
Well, not really, but rein in development in all areas west of Canal, downtown
I
neighborhood.
think
Sounds ominous.
I think the wording could
Smart growth.
The wording could absolutely be improved on that item. Again, remembering staff didn't write that.
Yeah.
That was a citizen
understand.
comment, yeah.
I think we can find a better word for something, for that other.
Address.
Yes.
How about smart growth? Just that.
Smart growth strategy, smart, whatever.
Yeah,
But
yes.
that's it.
Tweak the wording,
Thank you,
yes.
Mayor. I don't have anything else.
Commissioner Sachs, items 11 through 15, shown here.
Well, maybe someday we could partner with Marine Discovery Center on item 12, protection of the coastal natural systems with living shorelines. I have the perfect property in mind at the AOB site. That's all I'll say on that. Actually, the neighborhood council has been a tremendous asset, and I'm hoping that we can have a joint meeting with them on any and all matters regarding the city and its future and the quality of life, and possibly use the neighborhood council to engage more with the citizens if they don't feel comfortable coming to the commission. A clearinghouse or a place to vet and talk. That's really important. And sea level rise, of course. You know I'm always talking about that, but thanks.
Okay. Commissioner Colodi.
Really, the only comment I have on D, 11, is I think we should put in there the capital improvement plan for utilizing of the impact fees. Whether that's included in one of the other things we talked about, then it's fine by me to leave it off.
We can add
That's
to,
it.
to include, by then we'll have, because this ties directly back to the transportation plan. So
Yeah.
just to include the transportation plan.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay.
That's why,
Sounds good.
I didn't even know whether we had to change it for that, but it's a good reminder.
Actually,
That's it, Mr. Mayor.
that's correct.
Okay. And, hang on, go back one.
Mr. Mayor,
I had on mine a 16 and a 17 on the draft that I had.
prioritize climate change.
Yeah, and then incorporate sustainable. Does everybody have items 16 and 17 in front of them? Yeah, I know. Any comments on items 16 and 17?
Once again, Mr. Mayor,
Yep.
on item 16, I would like to see that moved up from December, but I'm not quite sure exactly to when. And I don't have a 16 on my screen, I'm reading the paper.
Yeah, I
that
know,
have.
yeah, didn't get in the PowerPoint, or the PowerPoint.
Well, for the benefit of the audience, item 16 is prioritize climate change considerations when updating planning and design regulations. In the first item, did have to do with sea level changes. So
It's
that was in there.
Review of LDR to address.
Right, and I'm only saying that because they can't see that.
Yep, got it. It is in the agenda package, I believe, that was posted, so. Any other comments on items 16 and 17, the last two, and this one to my left? Any comments? Nope. Commissioner Sacks, any comments on those two?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I was listening to the planning board meeting last night, and one of the stakeholders that came up to the podium mentioned the 100-year floodplain. And we may now realize that the 100-year floodplain that formula is defunct, and we may be seeing more floods. And I think that we need to task Brian, unfortunately, maybe to define that better for us. I know it's difficult to foresee the weather. You'd be a rich man if you could. But how we should really include that in our discussion on density and sustainability as we go forward. How that 100 and 500 year may affect us going forward.
The 100-year flood map is provided by FEMA. You know, it's based on their FEMA modeling. So it would be, if you're seeking for us to redefine that for ourselves, that would be a fairly large task. That would be unusual. However, I think there are common sense floodplain management guidelines that we do implement and that we could implement that I believe could get you where I think you're headed.
What was alarming is that it wasn't a 1% chance. It turned out to be 64%. I know that number may be erroneous, but as of late, we're seeing a lot of flooding incidents, and I wouldn't want to see people develop, you know, just willy-nilly and realize they're in a 100-year floodplain.
I,
It's hard.
yeah, I think I concur with Brian. I mean, we certainly can't get into rewriting the FEMA floodplain map, but I think there's room between where we are and even best practices related to the current FEMA floodplain map and places we can make adjustments is what I think I heard you say. So I think the commission would be very interested in hearing staff's recommendations on how we can maybe be more progressive, and knowing that data is showing that may even need to be adjusted, not on our terms but on FEMA's, but I think that's what I'm hearing.
Yes, I think the map, it's a 1% storm for the 100-year event. If you have it 3 times in 5 years, that's, you know, some pretty high odds you're hitting. So I would agree that the maps probably are not accurate. They do get updated periodically, but I think you'll hear more about this item coming up as we get to the density discussion as we had last night.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
It is the land development regulations where we have to look to how to flood insurance map, which is what it is. It's how you get your flood insurance premium calculated. So
Right.
That's where the importance of that map comes in. And we can't change, we don't even want to think about that, changing the limits on that map. But we may wish to look a little further into it as we get into the land development regulations.
Agree. Thank you, Brian. All right. Next up, economic development, items 1 through 4. Vice Mayor.
I'm good.
I have no additional comments.
Commissioner Sacks.
Oh, it's a wild dream, but if we could divert some of those monies from the marketing initiative towards renourishing our infrastructure instead of more advertising for more people, that would be a conversation we could have with the county council someday. That's all I have on that.
Okay. Commissioner Colodi.
Under E, 04, get rid of it completely. It sounds un-American.
I'm going to have to disagree on that one, and certainly we can, I don't know that we want to bring it, debate it today, but we can bring it back for a debate sometime, because it would take an ordinance to do this. We'll have to debate it, but it's first of all, it's happening all across America, so it is definitely American. We're doing it, but I think this actually piggybacks with what Commissioner McGurk said. This is a way of helping to protect historic downtowns, helping to protect small businesses. And I did a lot of reading last night on this. There's kind of two sides to the coin. So again, we don't have to figure it out today, but I absolutely think this is a discussion we should have. This came up in almost every town hall type event that I talked about. This is something that would come up, not just by business owners on Flagler Canal. This is something that residents would bring up as things they had seen in other cities. So I didn't put this one on here. Some citizen did, probably the same one that talked to me. But
Actually, yeah, I didn't, I missed that.
all right.
The,
I don't
What's
even,
your view?
well, I don't even know where to start. You can't, you say cities are doing that, I'm not so sure. We have been rumored to be doing that on the beach side for many decades, which is absolutely and completely false. And there's been decades of franchises on beachside. The ability to regulate what the definition of a franchise is, simply a business model. It's not anything more. What people may be confused about is the difference between a corporate-owned entity and a franchise. That number 4 on on E04 makes very little sense, and legally it would be even more difficult to try to do that. So I think the bottom line is, in a lot of historical, I think the market determines why that doesn't happen very often. And we did have an ordinance where you cannot have a drive-through on the beach, literally on the beach. So I have made a reach in my mind that somehow that's probably what started the rumors that you're not allowed to have franchises on Beachside. We have a long history, many, many decades of franchises on Beachside, and we currently have plenty of them. Franchises are also made, people may be confused as not just food. So it's something that I think most people don't understand, and an arbitrary statement like that is very, very inaccurate, I guess I would say.
Yeah, I support that completely.
I
You know,
thought you might.
I used to go to the Outback. It seemed like a friendly neighborhood place. I go to the Dairy Queen, which we won't talk about, or the Dunkin' Donuts, or the Baskin Robbins, or all those. Some may actually be owned locally, I've heard. So it just makes no sense. It's not the way we should do things in this country. If you want to regulate the appearance of them, we do that, but you can't regulate who's in there and who invests. I do not want to do that, and I don't see the point of this being in there at all.
Vice Mayor.
I don't think it came from us, wasn't it? All these in blue came from citizens, so
Came out of a CCR
it's
session.
not part of my strategic plan, so I didn't see it going anywhere, so I have no comment. I agree with.
I think the comment of regulating the aesthetics of them is very, is what people, I think, get concerned about. But
Yeah, which is a separate, I don't think we've already gotten past it, but certainly that is a separate topic, so. Yeah, again, it is done, I mean, it is legal, there are ways to define it, and there's many, one such study that was done about it talked about how this isn't, protecting the local restaurants, the larger chains, specifically those that are more corporate, they have the business acumen to be able to leverage tax rebates and other things that give them, some argue, an unfair operating advantage over the small local restaurant. And so these are ways that cities have helped to protect that. And again, there's tons of examples of this being done. It is usually very, very tightly guarded. I mean, in our case, it would literally be probably, a couple of block area. And this isn't like the whole city type thing. So, I'm hearing at least, it sounds like 3 commissioners that don't think we should talk about it though. So, it sounds like it's dying a slow death right here in front of me, but I thought it was worth discussion. But I think I'm hearing that 3 others don't want to discuss it, so I think we can take it off for now. You'll hear from some public though.
I did want to, we'll find the one person who said it.
There's more than one, trust me. There's more than one.
I mean,
yeah, well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
does Tony have any cut?
Mayor, well, on that topic, I think it's a function of lot size and traffic count. But moving on, I just want to make a quick point that prepare map of underutilized properties, that'll be on the April 17th EDAB agenda. And the website for Southeast Volusia Marketing. After the December EDAB meeting where we talked about having distinguishing section on the landing on the home page for that to grab attention. I brought that up at the next 2 meetings. In the last meeting, I handed out samples from other websites in other areas that had that right on the front page of why they attention-grabbing things. Well, they're ranking, they're number 1 in this, number 2 in that. So we're headed that way.
Okay.
And I wanted to give a shout out to what's occurred that's not on this list, and I think we probably need to add it, is the effort that the mayor has kicked off in reaching
Yes.
out and touching. I know you've got a cuter name than that, hopefully. I didn't mean to steal that from a telephone commercial. In terms of everybody that has a business license in New Smyrna in 2019. That's a major effort. There's a whole series based on type already set up of meetings as well as some one-on-ones. So that is very much part of this strategy, Tony.
It is. Our first meeting is April 25th on tourism, hospitality, and art. Debbie Meals and Sally McKay will be the 2 speakers for that with resource information and good networking opportunity. plus our surveying. Every time we'll be surveying on the questions that, why choose NSB, et cetera, the list of questions.
No, I think it's a great initiative. I thank staff for kind of taking that and running with it. You know, one interesting thing that came out of that for me, and it's funny how when you start trying to do things, you know, things may end up different than where you started at, is just the lack of data and the ability to connect with our business community. We have all these business licenses, but none of that data is codified digitally. So we have no way, we can't hit send all and do any kind of a mass communication or mass marketing or mass survey or any of that stuff. And yet we have an annual touch point of a business owner that has to do the license and everything else. So I know Tony is looking at how we progress in that way. So I think it's going to help us a lot.
Yeah, I want to recognize Catherine Adel, our new business tax receipt person. She on her own has made revisions to that, and it looks more like the county thing where now you have to put in your email address and so on. So we're beginning to collect those now.
Yeah, excellent. I mean, because we started off with this bold vision, and then it became like, well, how do you? I mean, I'm literally down to knocking on your door to try to get you to come to this. You know, like there's just no way of contacting you as a business owner. So, which
It's a great resource. Good idea.
Yeah. You know, I guess for me on this one, I think if you can flip back for a minute, I think these are all great. You know, I would like to see us. I mean, there's no magic bullet in economic development. You know, we continue. I hope we're just challenging ourselves as a community, as a commission, as a community. Another thing I talked about with the EDAB was challenging them to help us using their Rolodex of connections. You know, we approved a mini storage facility, actually a couple of them lately. I mean, that's great. That is a version of economic development. It certainly brings tax base, but that's creating like one job, maybe two. You know, that's not the kind of economic development that I feel like we should be aiming for. I believe we're selling ourselves short. I think we have more to offer than we're really putting out there in a real strong way. I would love to see us as a community embracing this and saying we're going to do something big on economic development. We're going to land something big in New Smyrna Beach. And there's some, you know, some things we could target in the medical sector. There's some things we could target in other professional sectors. But we've got all the elements. We've got a great little community. You know, how many CEOs choose to retire here? There's CEOs that live here now. The CEO of is it Spirit or Sky, or one of the airlines that lives in New Smyrna. I mean, it's a great place to live and play. And I contend that also makes it a great place to work. We just have never captured that opportunity. So I hope we are able to expand our economic development focus beyond residents and the needs of residents. We have to focus on, you know, increasing our opportunities for careers. So hopefully somewhere in here that happens. And banning chain restaurants. No, I'm just kidding.
Actually,
I go to Dairy Queen as well, quite frequently.
I can
Nothing
vouch.
against
I've
chains.
seen them there. Actually, I'm very curious on information on that. So if
Oh,
you can get that to me through the
by the end of the meeting,
attorney,
yeah.
that would be great. Yeah.
No, I'll send you the Google search words. It's really it's being done. I mean, San Francisco's done it. A lot of folks have done it. The other way to do it, there's actually a whole thing called the Institute of Local Self-Reliance, ISLR. Go look it up. They've got a whole slew of information about it. And the other way you get there is there are communities where the local governing body wouldn't do it, but the community basically just would reject it. And so there would be people, you know, boycott type stuff that would say, no, you're not going to, you know, Starbucks on 3rd Avenue is just not happening, or Flagler is just not happening. And, you know, even if they opened it, it'd be out of business within months. So I'm not advocating we do any of that, but it's what's happening. All right. Item F, UC partnership. Vice Mayor. Comments?
On number one, the last item, it's going to take from March to September to get us a response back for the solar?
No, we had one response, and I believe Faith was either moving that forward on an agenda item I see right here, or it was under the 25,000. I know it's in the budget.
It's under the 25,000, and the contract with UCF just got approved by them.
Come on up here a second.
Sorry.
Okay.
Getting it through, getting the contract through UCF UCF's, governmental, you know, we started with the branch in Cocoa and it had to go through the full UCF legal department, so it's been going back and forth between our legal department, but they signed it today, and so we'll get it for the mayor's signature, but it's under the $25,000 threshold.
And Faith, the completion date on their study?
They said 6 months.
That's how we got from the March to September.
Yeah.
So it'll actually be April to October now.
Okay,
Okay.
all I have.
Don't go far, Faith. Hang on. Commissioner McGurk?
Just a brief comment. I am very excited about the direction that the UC's headed in and the relationships that we're cultivating and the way we're working together. That's it.
Commissioner Sacks?
The partnership with the UC is more pleasant. At least we're talking. I'm still very concerned about rumors of a possible sale of the water reclamation area west of I-95 and north of 44. I think, I don't know if we have purview or the ability to even discuss it or negotiate it with them, but I have not heard any good discussion on alternatives if we sell off that property and develop it. It's, you know, I know we talked about Williamson Boulevard going through that area. I wished it had been Airport Road where Williamson was, but I don't know, maybe Commissioner McGurk can steer us back that direction. It's vital that we have open space for water recharge. Rainwater is the only source of drinking water that we have. So with that, and the only other concern I have is that the UC help us to get the properties in, I don't know if it's Silver Sands or Bethune. One of those areas is still on septic tanks, and we have infrastructure to get close to them. I know we have willing partners, people want to hook up, and so being so close to the river, just taking away some of those septic tanks. I understand the water there tested has a lot of fecal coliforms, so that would be a good place to start for me with the UC.
I need a point of clarification real quick. You said water, the sale of water reclamation. Are you talking about the property that you say or that you think is a water recharge area, or are you talking about the process that the UC uses for reclaimed water?
The water recharge area.
Okay, so it's not water reclamation. It was you're talking about the property that is for the water recharge area.
Yes.
And while I agree with you, water recharge areas are important, I must remind you that the UC said that that property was not a recharge area. It may prove to be, but regardless, the Williamson Road would not have a negative impact on a water recharge area. So I want to stress that the Williamson Road project is a very important road project that this Southeast Volusia has talked about for a very long time. So it's very important that we don't muddy up the issue. I've had a couple people reach out to me with concerns that New Smyrna doesn't want Williamson. That is inaccurate, and we just need to make sure you're very clear about what it is you're talking about, so those kind of rumors don't start. Thank you.
I could respond, but we
So-
can talk about it another
Yeah,
time.
yeah. The, Commissioner Clody, I don't think you've commented on this one yet.
A couple things. With our study that we're doing to looking at the costs of retrofitting solar onto our existing buildings, one thing we should do, and we can do this in-house, in staff, is look at the cost to upgrade our lighting at the sports complex to LEDs.
Agreed.
My suspicion is that will have a tremendously larger return on investment than fooling around with our existing buildings. I shouldn't say that, to reinstalling it.
I believe David Ray may already have those figures, and I'll check with him.
I had asked him about that.
I thought he was working on something.
Because there's, other than the maintenance costs that go with it, for equipment that we can't do and we have to hire out, our electric bill's exorbitant. And it's a very high price to pay. And if we can cut it down, it'll help us tremendously. Had talked at one point in the past about, and I'm not quite sure how this fits in on our scheduling, would have to do with our land development regulations, to put a requirement in that in new development areas where there's a chance that we will have sewer service in the not-too-distant future, that the contractor, developer, be required to put in dry sewer lines so they could be connected up. Even if they start with septic systems, they can easily be converted without causing major disruption to our roads, which will be ours, or the neighborhoods in general. So one thing to keep in mind for our land development regulations. And then I would just like to add this. I had the opportunity to take a tour of our treatment plant, our sewer plant, as I call it, because that's what they always were. And with me, I was accompanied by my brother-in-law, who has the largest electrical sewage plant maintenance company in 6 states in the Northeast. And his comments were, it is the best run maintenance and maintained treatment plant facility he's ever seen. And that goes to Nantucket Island, all through the outback areas of Maine, Manchester, New Hampshire, that we are doing a tremendous job, that they are. And I shouldn't say I was surprised, but I was really glad to hear it. Some of their older equipment that they're having a hard time finding spare parts for because they're not made and they haven't converted yet. Luckily, he has a whole stock of them and he's mailing them to the UC for their use and backup, saving us taxpayer money. So,
Excellent. It's good to hear.
and last comment?
Sure.
We're appointing a new commissioner, and I intend to spend a lot of time talking to everybody who's applying, because this is really important coming up. April
Agreed.
29th, I believe.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Okay. My comments quickly on the UC partnership. I think the most important thing we can do, and it kind of speaks to what just kind of happened here, is making sure we have good data, that we're operating off of good data. This is too important to be operating off of gut feelings or anything else. We have to operate off of good data. If it's a recharge area, it's a recharge area. If it's not, it's not. If the road's gonna have an impact, it will. If it isn't, it isn't. But we have to operate off of good data. And when we have that, we have to acknowledge it and move forward. And if we question it, we question it in the open and then eventually move forward. So these things are just too important. I mean, this is water. This is life. So I think that is to both of your points. I think it's very important to be clear on that. All right, last, we have 4 items left. We have about 12 minutes. These are just as important as the others, though, so we'll take our time if we have to go into overtime a little bit, but just be mindful of that as we go through these last few items. Vice Mayor, anything on items shown on the screen here?
No, I was happy to see the duplexes are finally
Yes,
out of the ground.
Our affordable housing, which is the #1 priority within the CRA, we might add, the senior affordable housing, which we're partnering with the Housing Authority on, is under construction on Dimick. And there's a CRA meeting at 6:15 on April 9th for an additional $75,000 from the CRA for a contribution to the Housing Authority for property that they had bought and purchased on Dimick. So yes, there's a lot going on. And you all know about the master plan. You've all been meeting on that individually with the Housing Authority for the redevelopment, basically, of their existing properties on Greenlawn.
Greenlawn, yep.
And as you know, they are coming back again asking for the tax credit application on that as well. So all of our CRA expenditures are tied to affordable housing, or either at this point to the purchase of additional property, which you approved this last week for, it was parking for Pettis Park, and roof improvements to the historical museum, as well as a new fence for the historical museum. So we're tied to a 10-year funding plan that the county approved when they did the new CRA in 2015, and you are following it exactly.
Okay, excellent. Commissioner McGurk?
I think it was said.
Commissioner Sacks?
Well, when you're speaking of social equity, we can always do better. One consideration was how is this city coming along on the FEMA grants for people that were flooded during the last epic storm we had? That's just one question I have that hopefully we can work on, that everybody's made as whole as possible. The other that came to mind was over on the historic west side. I think it's the city's, I'm not sure if it's city or county purview, to make sure that the existing drainage canals are maintained and cleaned. Have we done that? Or do we have a program to continue that?
It is the counties, the majority of them are counties. They're old mosquito, of all things, mosquito control ditches, and I'll be real quick, Mayor, I promise. But one of the things that you'll see in the FY 19-20 proposed budget is both a stormwater master plan for historical west side as well as a stormwater master plan for Corbin Park. And those are the two areas we're also reaching out to the UC as partners on their long-range planning as well, because we've got a lot of septic systems in those areas as well.
And my last, one more thing is, I would really like to see Stuart Marchman come back to our city to provide more services. They said they had a $500,000 shortfall. I don't think they would be spending that much in our city to help our homeless and our needy. So that's one of my concerns.
Okay. Commissioner Colodi?
On the affordable housing, it's nice to see us building affordable housing. However, I think we're a little remiss in our land development regulations in that we do not require affordable housing in our new developments. There was some talk about it in the old Venetian Bay, where there's some enhancement possibilities to get affordable housing. But I see no reason why, when we approve a new development, that there's not a requirement that a certain percentage of houses be affordable. That doesn't mean they have to be smaller. What it means is that maybe they should be sold cheaper by the developer, or the developer could support their mortgage payments so that people who might not be able to move into some of these spanking new neighborhoods will have a place where they could go. Keep following up on our CRA stuff. It's working good. But our affordable housing should not be just in the one area. It should be throughout the city. There's been many studies done on that, and they should be spread around. That's
Okay.
it on G.
So I echo Commissioner Colodi's thoughts on integrating that, or at least the discussion around how we integrate that into LDRs, the legality of it, the practicality of it. I agree. I've also seen research that says that is very beneficial in many different ways. So I would be curious, as we are looking at a lot of other things in our LDRs, be curious to at least have that discussion and present the commission some options. Any concerns from the commission with having staff look at that and present us some options and thoughts on that?
Well, just comments, I believe we did that. I believe Venetian Bay had a certain percentage of their housing to do that.
You actually have, the Palms is held up right now because of the requirement and their negotiations with city staff. I can't remember if that was phase 3 or 4 of the Palms, which is now part of Venetian Bay. But that, I have a feeling that that's going to land on you sooner, should we say, than later.
Yeah. Is that part of the LDR though? Is that negotiated as a one-off as a part of that particular agreement? That's my guess is it's a PUD.
Yeah.
We're here, I think it was part of the overall approval of the Palms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this issue has been discussed for at least the past 15 years. And the important part is, how do we take a look at it and get it to work? Because we don't have the time to go into the issue right now, but how do you artificially keep homes low? Who has a right to them? It's not as easy as it sounds.
Completely agree.
So anyway, with that said,
But I think it merits the discussion, I guess. That's what I'm.
We'll add it here, give you
Absolutely.
LDRs
Yeah.
for affordable housing provisions and requirements
Yes.
within new projects.
I think it just merits a discussion, absolutely.
I
The
had
LDR
actually-
and the comprehensive plan will work together for that issue.
Okay.
I had actually suggested a new section, G02.2.
Got it.
And I have wording for it in my written comments.
Number 22 on his list, got it. Item H, financial plan. Vice Mayor.
Looks good to me.
No comment.
I just would like to comment on our priorities. Our priorities are public safety, and I think that would be a good place to start.
Okay. Commissioner Colodi.
Everything looked fine in that. I would just suggest that on item number 1, where we have our monthly reports, it says complete and they're ongoing. I look forward to them.
That's true. Then the next one is actually attached already, the April 9th CM report. And our new, thank you all for being on your best behavior when you went to Holly Hill on Thursday and not chasing away our new finance director. Thank you for approving that hire. He will be starting on Monday. The only change I need to make here was on budgeting forecast. We did, for his benefit, move
Move that,
the
yep.
budget workshop from April to May. So that budget workshop is actually May 21st,
Yeah.
rather than April.
Okay. I had no comments, and this is pretty much the following the path. Future of AOB. Vice Mayor.
I think we talked about it last time,
Yeah.
is we just, I'm in no hurry to do anything. I think that we just kind of need to let things settle a little bit, see what's out there, what the interest is, what the majority of the citizens want, whether they want to just leave it a public park, an enhanced park, or if we want to do some kind of a public-private partnership. I think those things will eventually come out, so we'll just kind of wait and see. I'm in no hurry to do anything about that. The existing discharge pipe that's out there, that's owned by us or the UC?
Owned by the UC. They actually have an easement from us
Okay,
for it.
but it's not in use. Do they have any plans to,
It's actually part of their permit through DEP. They're required to have that emergency outfall.
okay,
We've been lucky to haven't used it.
yes.
Did it?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk.
But we get in a lot of discussion with this. I'll just nail it down real quick. I'm not for selling the property. I think we need to look at whether or not we can do an extension of the city marina. I'm not interested in any grants, including fine grants right now for the property until we know exactly what we want to do with it and we get some kind of consensus. And we do not need, obviously, any RFPs on the property anytime soon before we can have an in-depth discussion about the direction of it. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Commissioner Sacks.
I concur. This is the last piece of public property. And a brief comment, since the Calalisa is the only access or primitive access to the water for light watercraft, it's pretty poor. It sits next to a water outfall, which can contain toxic water. So with this beautiful, what potentially is beautiful, the AOB site, it has so many opportunities to do great things there for the people. I would just hate to see another big project block out our view. And again, I don't want to entertain any RFPs. I hope that my colleagues have not been approached, and if they do, please disclose at some other time.
Okay. Commissioner Colodi.
Yes, under item number 1, just move those dates back another year. Will work fine. And item number 2, we could eliminate it completely if you wish. It would be my suggestion. The only possible private utilization I could see is the adjoining marina may wish to lease some of our submerged lands to extend their docking facilities in the water, but no privatization of any of the land. None.
Okay. I agree with everything that was said. with the exception of, I do think that we could spend a negligible amount, whether it be in this budget year or next budget year, and just spruce the place up a little bit. I mean, we have concrete barriers, blocking, I mean,
I'm
it
like
just,
a kid, if you let me keep it, I'll spruce it up.
it just, yeah, and I'm not wanting to invest a ton, because until the commission decides exactly what we want to do, but I'd love it if we could consider things that wouldn't be overly intrusive, things that, but I think for, again, negligible amount of money, we could, do a little bit to make it look a little less, post-apocalyptic, so.
Mr. Mayor, and we could start by putting a roof back on the shade shed that burnt up during the fireworks while I was sitting near it a couple of years ago.
Sounds like a great story for another time.
Very suspicious of that fire.
Yeah, right?
Now that you've put yourself close to
Make a
it.
mistake and put it out,
bad
that's
aim.
all we're saying.
So,
Bad aim.
Put it out.
any concern with having staff, again, I'm not in a hurry to make a decision on exactly what we do. I think there is general consensus that we keep it as a public held property. But any concern with having staff, letting Michelle and others maybe put their heads together and come up with some recommendations to the commission of low budget things we could do to just spruce the place up a little bit in the interim? Any objections to that?
Mr. Mayor, I think it's an awesome idea. I don't know how my colleagues feel about living shorelines, but I'm sure the Marine Discovery Center would love to get involved. I don't think any of a project that they would add to our shoreline would be detrimental in any way.
Well,
Let's
hold on. I'm good with what the mayor said. I would be reluctant to have anybody come from the outside and use the property before we have an in-depth discussion on what we're gonna do with the property.
Of course, but I would like to let them enter the discussion, maybe give us a proposal on what they would like to do. You may like what they hear.
I understand, but I think we'll have
yeah.
a discussion on that at some future date
Yeah.
and we can
All
include
right,
that.
that's fine.
I think that would be part of the broader discussion. I think what I'm talking about is literally just, again, removing concrete barricades and just making it look a little bit nicer in the interim. And then there's a broader discussion of what we do with more permanent type things. But I'm not opposed to, Marine Discovery Center should absolutely be a part of that discussion.
I'm just very happy retaining the property for
Yeah.
the people.
Agreed. I think we're all in agreement on that.
And we'll
Last,
change the wording on this one, so we'll get away from the RFP so much as the other alternative, something along the lines of, and we'll obviously give you back this draft again, but review options for utilization of property, and I have include short-term CIP improvements.
got it.
We'll change the
Last
wording up.
item, J, we're 2 minutes in overtime.
Glad to see this is moving along. I just wish we could move some of these dates up a little bit so that if we hit a roadblock, that we're not pressed to do something with time-wise. That's my
Okay.
only concern.
Commissioner McGirt, Commissioner Sacks.
No comment. I'd like to see that proceed in 2020.
Okay. Commissioner Colodi.
Basically, I agree with Commissioner Hartman. Move the dates up at least 2 months each. I had August, September, October, and May. In order.
So I had spoke with, there's a facilitator, a doctor from somewhere in South Florida about, I've not been through this process, but he talked to me and he said, the danger in starting too early is that if you get all this public input and then it has to sit until the ballot comes around, the recommendations may become stale. So he recommended no longer than 6 months out. So I kind of worked backwards from election date based on what that input I had received from somebody who does
Yeah.
this a lot.
Yeah. That's certainly interesting information I didn't have. Going into tonight, I felt the same as my fellow commissioners, just putting a little more buffer. I mean, again, we started the discussion on this in December, and it is now April 2nd. So putting in a month or two buffer for some extra discussion. I don't think the recommendations get particularly stale. I mean, I agree, maybe not a year-long process, but I think maybe just adding a month or two wouldn't be too problematic for me.
No, just like a little buffer in there in case we hit a snag along the way that we're not pushed right up to the day
Yeah.
that we need to submit it to supervisor of elections and try to rush through something at the last minute.
Was that the primary thing, is just to you basically took that and worked backwards 6 months. There's really no other constraints. If we added a
No.
month or two on the front end,
Correct.
no big deal. Okay.
Right, well, one constraint, I have to make sure Lynn Tipton's available for the orientation. She's,
Yeah.
was all set for October, so I'll need to see if she's available in
Okay.
August?
August.
So maybe you're right when you come back from the summer
League of
break, yeah.
Cities, conference.
What's that?
There's a League of Cities conference in August, so it'll have to be after that because she'll be real busy working up to it.
Okay.
So maybe early September.
Okay.
Or
Yeah.
late August.
Late August, early September. I think just moving it up a bit. Any other comments on that item? Commissioner Colodi?
No, no more comments on that.
Or in general, go ahead.
I was just wondering, do we have a target date as to when we're going to look at this?
Yeah, it'll be back in your packets for the 23rd, which means it'll go out on April 16th. Yeah, well, April 17th is the actual agenda release. So we'll have it, you'll have the draft in your packets that go, did I say that right? August 23rd, the packets go out on August. You guys did it to me. April 23rd, and the packets go out on April 17th. Got it.
Okay. And just to echo though, and I think we saw it as we went through this, the work is still ongoing. I mean, a lot of these items, some are already in progress. So don't hold up anything critical, just waiting on us to formally bless it on April
No,
23rd or whatever.
We're moving. Your agendas definitely reflect you're moving.
Yeah. We've already done public participation. If no other business from the commission, any other closing comments? Hearing none, meeting adjourned.
Quick break.
Yeah, yeah.
The other one in for
6:30.
Oh, 6:30.
6:30, yeah.
Oh,